The San Francisco 49ers just got wild, unexpected news that I cannot wait to tell you about. So I'm going to jump straight into it like right now. And then later in the video, we have to talk about the Pro Bowl selections because I think that's really interesting and telling. And there's a little bit of drama surrounding it that I think is completely reasonable. So we're going to get to all that in this video. If you're new here, and you're interested in daily 49ers content, hit that subscribe button because we're going to be talking about that. We're already laser focused on 2025, have been for many weeks, and we're going to continue to talk about it every single day. Now, yesterday I saw something pop up on Twitter that I thought was like, well, hold on now. That's kind of interesting. That's kind of cool. And I thought it was crazy, but not only was it confirmed by an eyewitness, it was then the way that it was said today on 95.7 The Game by Cam Inman, insider. This is crazy. Listen to this. Cam Inman said this about Brandon Aiyuk via 95.7 The Game this morning. The 49ers often have shooting contests. Deebo is usually in on it. Ricky Pearsall, Ronnie Bell. Well, Brandon Aiyuk was in on it yesterday, and he's shooting shot for shot with Ronnie Bell about 18-footers. He's not just flat-footed. He's getting elevation while shooting. Now, I would love to just stop there for a second and be like, that's great. And that's kind of how I felt when I saw it on Twitter. I was like, that's awesome. I mean, maybe that means something good. But he went as far as to say this. He looked so healthy and happy. And if that stays on track, come training camp next year, he should be ready to go. Guys, that's nuts, okay? Now, Cam Inman, I don't want to say what he's not saying. I don't want to act like he's saying something that he's not. This is word for word what he said on the game. So I'm just going to say it for what it is, but also recognize, Cam Inman, to my knowledge, is not a doctor, and he's not, meeting with Brandon Aiyuk secretly and, learning a lot about how it's coming along and what new projections are or anything like that. This is just the eye test. This is just watching a guy shooting jumpers over and over and over again and thinking, geez, this guy just had his ACL, MCL repaired, and he's already doing incredibly well, looks fantastic. And I think let's just take it at face value for what it is. That's great news. That's fantastic news. That's unexpected. That's wild. I did not see that one coming. So I'm stoked about that. And I just want to remind you of how important Brandon Aiyuk was to this football team not too long ago. His 2023 season, played 16 of the games, he sat out the Rams game, if I remember correctly, okay? Had 75 receptions on 105 targets for 1,342 yards. Now, you'll remember, because all offseason, all we did was talk about Brandon Aiyuk and if the 49ers should pay him and how that should all play out. So the reason the 49ers paid him and the reason that most of you all who felt like he should get paid wanted to back that up is because of his efficiency. Getting 1,300 plus yards on 75 receptions, averaging 17.9 yards per pass or per reception. That's crazy numbers, right? Those are crazy numbers. He was far and away, I think, pound for pound, the most valuable wide receiver out there last season. Now, obviously, this season did not go as expected from every single way you could slice it. You wish the 49ers would have paid him right at the beginning of the offseason when 29, if I remember correctly, or 28 was on the table, and they missed that opportunity, right? Now, whatever. Forget about that for a minute, okay? Forget about the AAV. Forget about all of that. Brandon Aiyuk then, of course, is not playing his best football when he does come back. He doesn't have rhythm with Purdy, all of that kind of stuff. Then he goes and has a season-ending injury. All of this is really bad. Then we expected that this Brandon Aiyuk would probably not be able to play until several weeks into the next season, which is mainly an issue because we saw what Brandon Aiyuk not having training camp with the team did to him. And so I think the 49ers, if they can have BA healthy at training camp, that would be amazing. That would be the best kind of news I could share with you today. So I'm stoked about that. I'll also throw out there, he had 28 bigs. For a wide receiver, a big is 20 plus yards, not 10 like it is for a running back. So that's 28 times last season that he had 20 plus yards in a reception. That's bananas crazy. That's awesome. He had 83.9 yards per game. That's the BA. That's the Yak Attack. That's the guy that the 49ers, can you just imagine with me for a second, and we're going to get to Pro Bowl stuff in a second here. Can you just imagine with me for a New York minute what it would have been like this season to have 1,300 more yards coming out of your wide receiver room, to have 17.9 yards average per reception coming out of this receiver room. Obviously, of course, you have to do the math and say, okay, well, these guys don't get opportunities, whatever. But I cannot believe, I'm seriously blown away. I'm listening to the game this morning and I'm like, whoa, that's way different than what I even read on Twitter. And I thought that was cool. So this is fantastic news for the 49ers. Let's get into the Pro Bowl selection though. Okay. So the Pro Bowl honors this season go to 4 49ers. Here they are. You already know this, I'm sure, but you've got Kyle Juszczyk, who is the only one who gets it, obviously, out of the NFC. No surprises there. You have George Kittle, who's on his 6th, has a chance to go 1,000 yards and 10 TDs for the first time. You have Nick Bosa, who's up to number 3 in pass rush productivity. You have, let's see here, Fred Warner was number 1 graded linebacker prior to foot fracture, was still able to finish number 2, despite that happening in week 6? That's a long time for Fred Warner to just continue to stay at the top of those charts. So that's pretty impressive there. So those are your 4 guys who get it. How about the snubs, though? Let's talk about the guys that didn't get it. I'm not going to argue with the Trent Williams one, but you have Leonard Floyd. I think that one's also an interesting one because I think 49ers fans would say what we see with the eye test is not the same as what we see in the stat line, and so I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that. Deommodore Lenoir and Brock Purdy are interesting ones as well. Brock Purdy, I feel comfortable with him being an alternate. Deommodore Lenoir, though, they missed on this one, guys. They missed on this one, and Demo let them know. Demo tweeted out after seeing the Pro Bowl honors, don't ever let them tell you draft status doesn't matter. He also had another tweet talking about the stats, basically saying, I've seen the stats boards, and I'm like, I don't get it, right? Something to that end, right? Here's what David Lombardi said. Deommodore Lenoir has better stats than any of NFC's cornerbacks picked to Pro Bowl ahead of him. Those are the 4 picked ahead of him, and here are their stats. Of course, you can look at the ratings, and you can be positive about the ratings, say, well, their ratings are higher than Demo's, yada, yada, yada. At the end of the day, would you rather have a guy that has a high rating, or would you have a guy that nobody throws touchdowns on that guy, right? That's the thing you want, right? The thing that actually gets the points on the board. So I feel like this was a snub. Demo feels like this was a snub. Every 49ers fan I've seen so far on the internet thinks it's a snub. So let me know what you think in the comments about if you think this was a snub. It felt like a snub to me. Feels like Demo gets his 5-year deal, has balled out all season. I've told you guys 100 times on this channel, so I better stop saying it, that he is the most consistent defender all season long in my book. I feel like he backs that up, and I think that this was unfortunate for him, not because he wanted to play in the game or anything like that. I'm sure they like that kind of stuff. It's kind of a cool thing. The ratings are always kind of funny about the Pro Bowl game. But the honors, that's the thing that you want. You want to be able to say next to your name how many times you got a Pro Bowl, how many times you were an All-Pro, first team, second team All-Pro. That's the thing that I think the players really care about, and that's the thing that I think they got the most wrong. Demo deserved it this season. He was an incredible player this season. I feel like they completely missed on that one. That's my take. I wouldn't say it's a hot take or anything like that, but I do think it's a strong take. Let me know what you think on that one in the comments. And we're just a few days away from a very interesting game against the Arizona Cardinals because the number of guys we're going to be watching are not, it's going to feel a lot to me, I think, like a preseason game. We're going to be watching to see individual player stuff. I'm not going to give a rip about the scoreline. I don't think anyway, unless I don't know. Sometimes during the game, I always feel different. But I feel like this is going to be a preseason game for me. I'm going to be watching it like I watch a preseason game, looking for those players that are on the fringe, looking for those players that are just trying to make the 53 next year, looking for those players who are hoping that they have a shot, if not to get paid by the 49ers, to get paid by somebody. That's what I'm going to be watching for. I think that's going to be most interesting as we head into officially now, just a few days away from officially being the offseason for the 49ers, which is disappointing, of course, because the playoffs are now coming and they're around the corner and it's exciting and there's college football going on. There's a lot of great football being played. And unfortunately, the 49ers will not be playing great football for much longer. If if at all. So we'll have to wait and see on all of that, of course, but let me know what you guys think in the comments. As always, appreciate you. I hope you have a fantastic day.